There has been this idea sliding around in the battery electric vehicle business, probably for at least 10 years. I'm sure Brian knows exactly how long it's been going on, but it appealed to me the first time I saw it. I thought, that makes a total lot of sense. It apparently appealed to Elon Musk until he found out it wasn't so great, but it's coming back. NIO is trying their best, and the fans of NIO are trying to prove to us that battery swapping is the future, as opposed to not battery swapping. And I have Brian White, as usual, on this channel to try to figure out something that is pretty much over my head. Brian, you've been reporting a lot this last week about battery swapping, and so I thought I should, ask you about it.
Yeah, I saw this very silly graphic on X showing all the advantages to battery swapping and all the downsides to just plain charging. And it was being pushed around by a lot of brand new accounts with no history, which to me look like stock pumpers, and people and also real people who I recognize from the past, people who are Tesla investors and NIO investors who really want this to work. But unfortunately, it just doesn't make sense. So like you said, Tesla looked into it, 10 years ago? Something like that, 8-10 years ago, yeah. They showed a demo of how quickly a battery can be swapped. What they found was this was not a very popular program, and it really didn't save that much time. It was very fiddly and complicated. And if it's a busy holiday weekend, how many batteries are you going to leave sitting around? Every battery that you've got sitting there is a car at the time that you couldn't build.
Right. And
the NIO faithful are missing some big points. The biggest one I will start with, and then you can ask my questions, is NIO says they've got a new battery that'll do 620 miles and charge in 5 minutes.
Wow.
But also they've got a new battery swap station. If you have one, you don't need the other. Yeah. And that 620, by the way, is a battery that does not exist, that they hope to have at some point in the future. And the 620 is the on the CLTC test cycle, okay. which is the most generous of all. If you think you miss EPA ratings, wait till you try the ratings on a CLTC cycle. And and NIO doesn't give you the batteries at 100%. They give them to you at 9% because they're not going to juice their batteries all the way to 100. That's crazy. So there's a whole lot of question marks on this that don't make sense.
So Brian, to your first point, actually, before I forget it, because I had not thought about this before. I mean, I thought about the fact, and it was widely reported when this was all being discussed a few years ago, the idea of stacking up batteries at these locations, and having these batteries out of circulation didn't make a lot of sense. Well, so when you think about that, when it's only NIO, but then you multiply it, let's say everybody switched over to battery swapping, the quantity of batteries that would be out of circulation at any given time would be starting to get into some real numbers.
It would. So the problem with it is, I mean, there's a bunch of problems. Jordan Casey from The Limiting Factor made a video going down all the reasons battery swapping doesn't make sense. One of them is if you've got 2 or 3 different sizes of batteries, which ones do you keep in stock? Are you going to be giving me a long range battery when I only paid for a short? And then when you show up an hour later and get a short range battery when you paid for a long range, you're going to be livid. And it doesn't make sense. The NIO faithful say, right, but they're going to license this tech to others so other companies can use it too. Do you understand the complication that arises when you try to get engineers from 2 different companies to use the same very complicated? It is never going to happen. It would take 3 to 5 years if you could do it. And it just wouldn't happen. It can't. And then what, you're now beholden to NIO's whims because they own the swap stations? That's bonkers. So I asked them how much, a gentleman who was discussing in good faith, Corey. I asked him, I said, if there's only 10 batteries at each station, that would allow them to cycle them through and charge them fast enough. But I don't know if they could get them all the way. He goes, no, it's actually 23. It's 23 batteries per station.
Oh,
They keep the next couple up around 90% and the rest around 50. And when people start rolling in, they start juicing up the others. And I said, 23, 23. That's $500,000 per station tied up. And you've got thousands of stations already in China, apparently, though not much video of them exists, which is weird. This station, think about how complicated it is. The analogy I use is, imagine a complicated vending machine where you bring in your water bottle and you deposit it, and it takes it in and it washes it and it refills it for the next guy with beautiful filtered water and seals it, gets it ready to go, and in the meantime just gives you a brand new bottle that's already sanitized. That's a great idea. Tesla's approach is, you know what we could do for a fraction of the money? Put in 100 sinks, 100 dispensers, and you can get your own water.
oh, what?
I actually had a guy tell me, well, you're ignoring the several minutes it takes to plug in your Tesla. What? What are you talking about? I was at a charger the other day, and at this location, there were Tesla chargers on one side and Electrify America on the other. And I pulled up, I plugged in, and I started playing Beach Buggy because I just unlocked the Cybertruck and I'm very excited. Gentleman pulls up in, I don't remember what, at Electrify America, and it must have taken him 3 minutes to get it validated and charging. That's terrible.
Yeah.
So if you're trying to compare Neo to something that doesn't work well, that's fair. But why would you do that?
Right.
Starting any day now, other cars will be able to use the supercharger network.
Mhm.
By next year, most EVs will be able to use the supercharger network, and it just works. So yeah, I don't know if they've thought any of this through. But let me ask you a question, Randy.
Okay, go ahead.
How much would it cost to build that swap station? Bear in mind, you drive in at grade and you need to have mechanical equipment below grade.
Mm-hmm.
You need to have the space next to it, a big complicated machine with heavy duty parts. It's going to be extremely high voltage inside there. What does it cost to build that station with one stall?
Yeah, probably $300,000, not counting the property.
Oh,
Just the
no,
building
I'd say
itself?
it's,
Oh, you think so?
I'd say, well, because of all the engineering and equipment,
I see.
just the robot arms alone, I think you're looking more like $1 million or two.
Oh,
And we don't have good information from Neo, and the information we have is only from China.
I see.
And then you've got, what does it cost to build an entire Tesla station? Not counting the land, about 30 grand, 40 grand, maybe 50. So it's which has higher throughput per dollar. There is no competition.
So then
I did have a guy say, Americans think everything is America and that's how it's going to work. No, things that can work in China have to be scalable to other markets if you wish for them to work. If you wish to export, they have to work in the markets where they work. Like I said, well, what they're going to do is those batteries that are not in use, they can use them like a mega pack, stationary storage.
Okay.
And I said, that's a great idea. Do you know what the regulatory hurdles are to establishing yourself as a utility in one place, let alone thousands of places? Everywhere is different, and many places it's not even an option. You can't get it done with any amount of paperwork unless the local utility has a use for it and a desire. So that is never going to happen in the US, Europe, or any Western country.
So if we come down to the basic concept, I mean, I see two advantages that are probably not, one of them is definitely an advantage. The other one is the one I'm going to question. The one advantage has always been if you buy the car without a battery and you're just leasing the battery, then the initial cost of the car is reduced, and now you're paying some separate lease forever, probably monthly charge, I guess, for the use of the system. I don't know what that monthly charge is, and I didn't see that in your information that you provided.
It was provided later.
Okay.
So people said, wouldn't you like it if the battery was just something you never had to worry about, never had to think about? And I said, right, but the warranty on a battery in the US is minimum 8-year, 100,000 mile minimum.
Right.
I said, even if you're paying $100 a month to lease that battery, that's 10 grand. And a guy said, it's not 100, it's 199.
Okay.
20 grand to lease a battery that's already under warranty? What are you talking about? That's insane. And if you want to keep the car past 8 years, you're going to have a $200 car payment forever.
Ever. Yes.
Forever. And well, yes, but if you wanted to upgrade your battery, you could. Okay. If I could upgrade the battery on my Tesla today, I don't think I would. And at what price, at what cost would they upgrade it? Yeah. Because they're not going to take you from a 50 or 70 kilowatt up to 100 or 120 without an eye-watering bill that you would not pay.
That would be an extremely small percentage, I think, of the use cases. So the other thing would always be, of course, that we have to assume that the real person that had any interest in this at all would be the person who does not have charging at home, because otherwise you're only talking about using the charger, the swap station once a month, and you're paying $200 a month to use it once a month, or once every other month when you're traveling. So if you have charging at home, I'm not sure that there's any advantage at all. But the guy who doesn't have charging at home now, can we imagine a world in which everybody isn't going to have capacity to charge at their apartment, at their condo, whatever it is, because the governments are just going to require it? It's not going to be an issue.
I don't think this is an either or. You don't have to swap a battery. If it's swappable, you can still charge it, and you don't have to lease it to use the swap stations. But if I paid for my battery and I get swapped out with a battery that's degraded, oh man, right, but just bring it back and get a different one again. Yeah, I guess, but at some point this is going to fall apart, and they're going to give you just whatever battery you have in your car today, and half of people are going to have a battery that they're not excited about. And I'd argue more than that, because if it ain't your battery, you're not going to take care of it the same way.
Yeah. Okay.
Look at how people treat rental cars compared to, yeah.
So I know.
They also said,
I did Turo for a while. I know how they treat them.
They also said a full swap is only $14.45.
Right.
Isn't that great? And I'm crunching the numbers going, oh, so they're going to lose money. Because remember, when the supercharger network first launched, it was something like 10 cents a kilowatt.
Yeah.
And you can lose a little bit of money up front, but as you scale, you have to be profitable.
Right.
Or all you're doing is hastening your demise.
Right.
That $14.45 will not last, because that is about the cost of their juice, maybe under the cost of their juice. And it doesn't cover the station, the repairs. The repairs on a machine like this are going to be terribly complicated, expensive, and time consuming. It's a solution to a problem that doesn't exist.
Yeah, there you go. I think that's how we could have actually started the entire thing, is that there's really not a problem if your supercharger are working well and you can charge at home. I think that there's not a problem that needs a solution.
Yeah, the graphic even said, "Oh, a full charge on a Tesla supercharger is an hour plus." What are you? So you think I'm coming in at 0 and I'm going to sit there to 100? Yeah, I would want to use someone else's battery too if I was going to do that. But why would I? And one guy said, "Well, I want to be able to get where I'm going." Look. If you and I both drive 15,000 miles a year, and you have a gas car and I have a Tesla, you spend more time at the gas pump than I spend at superchargers, because I don't spend much time. I only do it periodically if I'm on the road.
Right.
And he said, yeah, but when I'm on the road, I want to get what am I just going to get where I'm going late? Time is linear, man. Leave at the appropriate time. when I plan a trip, I already plan for the speed limits on the way. I plan for the weather. If there's a pass I need to be aware of, I already plan for all that. How do you not know how long it takes to get places? There are people who live their lives perpetually late, and boy, do they get on my nerves because I'm early. I'm an early person,
Right,
and if I'm
right.
late for some reason, it's due to factors beyond my control, and I will tell you that. And if you have a problem with it, I don't know what to tell you. I can control what time I leave. I can't control what time I arrive. I left a buffer. It either works or it doesn't.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm sure that our this listening audience has already done this a million times. If they own a Tesla, if you own a Tesla, we just went to Las Vegas. On the way to Vegas, you're going to make a stop to charge. You're going to make that stop to charge. And while you're doing that, you're going to get over to the McDonald's or whatever your favorite flavor is. And you're going to get some food, and you're going to, take care of the Coke that you had drunk on the way so far. All that's going to be taken care of on your stop. And I didn't put in a full charge because we only needed to get to Vegas. So it was maybe a total of 25-minute stop, and we're on our way again.
Yeah. On the way home from Christmas, my oldest is a very picky eater. He did not eat anything at Christmas. So on the way home, we stopped at McDonald's and got him something to eat, a couple McChickens. And we just plugged it in, walked inside, got our McChickens. And by the time we got back out, we had more than enough juice to get home comfortably. And it takes no time at all.
So McDonald's is not a sponsor of this channel, but we will talk to them about the possibility of becoming a sponsor. Anyway, Brian, thank you so much as always for coming on and helping us to keep it straight, to keep our mind properly oriented in terms of these subject matters that are confusing so many out there in the regular public. Nobody watching this channel is confused, but we just wanted to help them with the talking points for their confused neighbors. Is that about right?
It sounds right to me, but I just got here, so what do I know?
Okay. Thank you again, Brian, and to all of you out there, it's been great. Oh, wait a minute, one last thing before you go. Follow Brian everywhere. My Tesla Weekend, everywhere he is. Make sure you're following him, paying him money on Patreon. It's worth it. It'll increase the stock value. Just pay him. All right. That's it. It's been great talking to you. Is somebody going to join Patreon? All right. I'm going to make a deal. This is going to be, I've done this once before. It worked a little bit. Actually got a lot of people joining Patreon the last 2 weeks, but the last 2 days, not a single soul. So let's get you up on Patreon. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you one free audiobook. You can have two free if you want, or you can have one free audiobook and the Cybertruck bottle opener. How's that? 1 and 1. Okay. If you join at the $10 level, not at the $5 level, if you join at the $5 level, you just get the one book. Now, if you're completely new to the channel, this is a bottle opener. It is a refrigerator magnet. It is 3mm thick, stainless steel, really, really tough. Comes in a very cool magnetic box that makes it a great gift item. It's got all kinds of people now buying them as gifts as a result of the fact that I have so many people that want to buy them as gifts, and they're putting in these larger orders. I do have it all down. I think I put it all down below. I'll have to double check and make sure that it's up to date. They're normally $25 a piece. You get two for $45. You get three for $60. Okay. You get 100 for $210, and you get 200 for $400. Gets you all the way down to $20 a piece. If you are out of the country, I need you to add another $20 to that for freight, whichever one of those ones you pick. And then if you are, and then please let me know camo or regular. And of course you can mix and match if you buy quantities, however you want to set that up. So is there anything else I have left for you tonight? I think I've said it all. I have enjoyed speaking with you yet again.
Click the link below to get your paperback, Kindle, or audiobook now.